Hi, this is Doug Ward from Tech Britain. I'm very happy to be in Manchester, the best place, non-biased there. I'm here with the CEO, Colin of Rentlord. Thank you very much for your time, Colin.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure.
For anybody in Manchester who's watching this, please do get in touch with Colin at a later date. I'm sorry to get you swamped, but this man is one of the shining successes in Manchester. Could you talk about your background to start with, Colin?
Yeah, so I'm from Singapore, and I did my background in the humanities. I came to England to do my degree, and in the middle of my postgrad, we had the idea for Rentlord because we were tenants in London, and we were landlords up here in Manchester. So we sort of faced the problem from both ends, and the idea came around the time of the Great Recession.
Wow.
to devise what's essentially the first end-to-end platform for property renting that could be done, you know, on the internet or the mobile phone.
And I mean, there's loads to speak about, like in terms of your experience with like TechCrunch, Seedcamp, 500 startups. I guess I'd like just you to walk us through what the process of where the company's gone from idea to where you are today.
So when we started in 2009, it was just an idea, and it was a very complicated process. As you know, renting a home is about 11 steps, maybe 15, depending on how rigorous you want to be. And creating the product and inventing the product took a lot of not only our own design time, but a lot of interviews with actual people who have been out there. So we spoke with a lot of students, landlords, university accommodation managers, of all agents, and this was the early part. And we built our prototype really quickly, and we just jumped right in. So
how quick, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. I think we had a really early version was out by the end of 2009. But in between, at every point in between, we would always be showing what was. So we started to say with the contracting platform, and was this simple enough? Was this, did this make sense? We would ask people, and then we would have a marketplace, and everyone understood what a marketplace was. So there wasn't very much point asking, getting feedback on marketplace. We knew it had to be something like an eBay for property.
Sure.
With contracting mechanism, with payments platform. But a lot of the technology did not really exist in England at that time. So for example, how difficult it is to invoice person to person and manage person to person transactions. And I remember it was in 2010 that we heard about this incredible new product by PayPal called Adaptive Payments. And that allowed anyone to literally create your own eBay, because you would be able to invoice from one person to another and then execute a person-to-person transaction through PayPal. So that was one of the first things that made person-to-person commerce for us, because we were trying to innovate around person-to-person commerce and transactions. That, I remember, was one of the big breaks that said, hey, it's actually possible to do that. So we implemented that technology, and at the end of 2010, we were invited to speak at PayPal's Innovate conference, which was really exciting. We were invited to talk about social commerce. And then in 2011, meaning just a couple of months later, we made the application to join, to participate in the mini seed camp in New York. And we got into that, and then a few months later got invited back for the main seed camp week. Dave McClear was there. He invited us to join 500 startups on that week. Seed camp, invited us to join seed camp that week, and we were invited to. It just happened that week was the same week we would be at TechCrunch Disrupt.
Wow, your head must have fallen off that week.
And that was the last 2011. So that was a very exciting time for us, and we launched our beta, a consumer-facing beta at Disrupt.
So I mean, just for the audience, like what was the experience like? I mean, TechCrunch Disrupt. I mean, what did you start with that? What was that like?
It was really, really exciting. You know, it was like a dream. You know, because for the last 2 years, you know, working up in Manchester, we literally just faced either customers or potential customers where we interview them, or we face the operational team where we build the product, or you know, we'd be watching these videos, reading these blogs. It's not just the tech news, but you know, learning from people like Dave McClear's blogs, you know, and his talks. I remember watching a lot of Guy Kawasaki.
Yeah.
Because he had, you know, and they were just putting out these lessons and experiences and tutorials online free of charge. We learned everything watching these, you know, rigorously for 2 years and learning how to execute as a company. And we were based in Manchester. You know, we didn't have very much marketing presence as such. We didn't need to. We didn't feel we need to. We were learning from the customers. We were learning from people who were sharing their experiences online. And I think sort of anyone can do this.
Yeah, I mean, and 500 startups, for people who don't know what 500 startups is, could you let them know?
So 500 Startups is a fund that's started by Dave McClear, and his primary thesis of the fund is to invest, as an investor, to invest, make these small investments across, you know, many different types of companies, and get a lot of data across the spectrum of companies and entrepreneurs out there. The entrepreneurs in turn are taught and coached on how to get data for themselves as they run the company. So it's a very data-focused, data-driven type of a thesis. In other words, it just boils down to knowing your market, knowing your customer. Can you find ways of getting your product out there through distribution? And of course, can you design a good product, a beautiful product that can be used and picked up very easily?
So people read about like people getting funding and things like this. How does it actually happen in terms of 500 startups? What was that experience like? Like, how does that happen?
Right. With 500 startups, from what I know, from what I can see.
Sure, your experience.
So 500 startups is very open. It's practically an open office. I mean, you know, everyone knows where the office is. It is an actual presence. And the entrepreneurs work there, and the main operational staff are there. Generally, you get into an introduction, either by an entrepreneur or, you know, or one of the operators and managers of the fund. And that's basically how you get in. For us, I mean, in our case, Dave saw us pitch at Seed Camp, so you know, we got in that way.
That's cool. Well, that's cool. In terms of being in Manchester,
yeah.
What's your thoughts on Manchester's tech community as is today? And we're in July, I should say.
I really love Manchester as the people, as a base. It's great. It's a great environment to build a company in. You have a lot of very talented, intelligent, creative, either students or professionals, people already in the industry here. All that's sort of missing, I guess, are just maybe other entrepreneurs, helping other entrepreneurs to create products out of the talent and skills which are already here in the city.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we've got a huge student pool here. I mean,
yeah,
crazy talent going on. We just don't seem to be getting the press attention of other places.
Yeah, we've got great universities here. Yeah. And it's a great pedigree as well. I mean, modern computer was basically invented in Manchester.
Crazy history, right? So, I mean, in terms of being based in Manchester, what was your decision of being based in Manchester?
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, it was a combination of personal and professional reasons. So the story was that our lease in Manchester had come to an end, and my wife and I, who were letting out the apartment here, we moved back up here, and we were turning the apartment around. It turned out that she was pregnant.
Right. Okay.
So we decided to stay on and you know, build a family here and build the company here, pretty much that summer.
That says a lot about the city, right? It's a good place to live.
So it really is a great place to live and to work. You know, we knew that having experienced London, it would be just a little bit more congested, distracting. But we have very unusual circumstances. You know, I mean, family, you know, older founder, sort of starting up. You know, we were not fresh university graduates.
Yeah.
You know,
And if like, can you see like fresh graduates staying here in the future with the plans? I mean, we're speaking off camera, some of the things we're hearing in the background, what about to happen in this city. Do you think people will stay in Manchester?
Yes, I think so. I think that there are companies that are expanding. It's certainly got the roots of a great economy here.
We should say, are you hiring at the moment?
we probably will be pretty soon.
Cool. In terms of the government, we'd like to ask, what's your thoughts on the role of the government in terms of aiding the tech community? What do you think they should be doing?
I think what the government has been doing, which is providing the profile, the marketing profile for entrepreneurship in general, that it's not crazy to try to invent or create and build something new. That is the most valuable thing that they've done, which is to naturalize entrepreneurship and sort of teach the nation that it's something to be cherished, to be valued.
Not just, that's a crazy person.
Yeah, that's right. As for the coaching, of course, it would have to be, you know, I guess entrepreneurs, you know, or companies helping out one another, as is normally the case in the Valley and in any startup ecosystem. I think that will come about naturally and organically. But I think what really is the first step to creating an entrepreneurial ecosystem are young people wanting to do it and sort of coming into the system, and then maybe the corollary of that is more venture funding, more seed stage, early stage funding, idea stage funding, and that in turn is driven by awareness. You know that investors, you know, investors of investors could put money, you know, and target such young startup entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed, right? I see it happening. In terms of your plans for the future, Colin, what's the plans for the future?
Well, you know, we've always just tried to listen to the customer, to what users need and want. It's really hard, you know, managing and building product and investing the time and then turning it around again when we discover, oh, you know, it needs to be tweaked this way or the company needs to go in that direction. So I'd say that we are still at that whole product refining, you know, phase. Still talking to customers, talking to users. That's where we are right now.
Very modest. Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Real pleasure.